You can't see the end of camp from here, but you can see the first preseason game in Jacksonville on Saturday night as the Chiefs have hit officially the dog days of camp here at Missouri Western State University in St. Joseph as they're back in pads today, getting ready for that first preseason game again in North Florida. Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen. Another one of our live streams in camp and our live streams in DTK. Everything we're doing here from camp is brought to you by the incredible people at Mosaic. Mosaic Life Care is the proud presenting sponsor of camp, and they are part of now the Mayo Clinic Care Network. They're investing, Mosaic is, in the future of healthcare and also investing in their people, their technology, and their services to offer the best and safest care while keeping your local care local. You want more towns?
Yes, hit me.
All right, a four-state area here served by Mosaic. It kind of converges here near St. Joseph. If you look at southeast Nebraska, I've mentioned Falls City, but I've not mentioned Peru, Nebraska, home of the Peru State Bobcats. I've not mentioned Atlantic, Iowa, home of Ed Podolak in southwest Iowa, or northwest Missouri, where I can give you, did I mention King City yet? Home of Roger Worley, who was a great NFL back, Mizzou and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Maybe King City or Conception Junction. I'll throw that one in there. And then, of course, northeast Kansas, where I can give you Leona, Bendina, or Severance, all serviced by the great people at Mosaic. They've been awesome here at camp. We just saw them help one of the fans today. This is going to be maybe the hottest heat index day of camp. I don't know why we always do the live streams on the hottest days, but we do. But they did help a fan just moments ago. They also help our players. There have been instances where they've had to offer acute care, but Mosaic's been fantastic for the fans and our team.
Have you noticed that in the past, generally on live stream days, it rains? Like that was our thing. No rain so far during this year's camp, but now every single live stream, it's like the hottest day of the year. A heat index north of 100 degrees today. This is practice number 13 of 19. The true dog day is going on right now. It's the 7th padded practice in the last 11 days. And the guys had the day off on Saturday, bit of a lighter practice yesterday, but back at it today in pads. It's difficult, it's hard, it's hot out here, but the team's getting better, and you're right, having Mosaic here to make sure everyone stays safe is so important.
We rarely see Coach adjust to his template, but he did a little bit in these last several days because he went a day in pads where it was going to be a day in shells right before the Saturday off day. But what he did was gave them that day back with a 10-10-10 or unpadded practice yesterday. But from now until they get ready for Jacksonville to fly down there, it's going to be like this in pads. And this is, again, part of Coach's push. He's 27-9 in September, so you can't argue against his fast starts. But his December record is equally as good. So these camps are as much about December and January and February as they are about September, and that's the magic of a great leader and who will be a first ballot Pro Football Hall of Fame coach and headed for Mount Rushmore of this league. Just check the numbers in Andy Reid. We're going to jump into this practice talking about quarterbacks. There's 4 in this camp. Let's start there because we're also going to talk about the 18 defensive backs that are in this camp. But Patrick Mahomes just goes to another level, and the next level is not something that shows up statistically. We're so driven by stats in this league now and analytics. But last year, to me, was a breakthrough year for Patrick Mahomes. Matt, he has the highest, here's numbers, he has the highest per game average passing yards in the history of the NFL in his first 6 years as a starter. Last year in the regular season, he won 5 games under that average. 3 of the 4 playoff wins in the March to Super Bowl 58 championship in the Lombardi Trophy, 3 times he won games under that average. What Patrick Mahomes has proven is he can win any game, anywhere, in any fashion.
How much time do we have to talk about Patrick Mahomes, like the whole live stream? Can I give you my favorite stat about Patrick? And this isn't really a traditional one at all, but it illustrates what you're talking about. This is from sports writer Neil Payne. So since 2001, there have been 125 drives in the NFL playoffs where it was at least the fourth quarter, under a minute to play, and the team with the ball trailed by 1 score. In those situations, teams succeed and score the points that they need about 40% of the time. And Tom Brady, one of the greatest of all time, obviously, was 5 for 11 in those situations. Drew Brees was 3 for 6. Patrick Mahomes is 7 for 7 in his career when the Chiefs need it in the playoffs. That's why he's the greatest quarterback in our league, and maybe the greatest of all time when it's all said and done, because he is the most clutch quarterback in the game. It's unbelievable. So, yeah, the numbers during the regular season are incredible. Look at quarterbacks in their first 100 career games. He has the most passing yards and touchdown passes in NFL history in 100 career games, and he's only played 96 career games in the regular season. That's all great, but when it matters the most, Patrick Mahomes is at his best.
He has 10 Kansas City Chiefs records, 13 NFL records if you include the postseason. And you look at his second highest QBR in his first 6 years with 1,500 attempts. Only Aaron Rodgers has more, and he's about ready to take him out. So every stat you want to get, you can get. But honestly, it's also what he has done mentally and emotionally in leading this team. And we're going to talk more about Patrick and the rest of the quarterback room. But now let's veer and look at what's going on the field, as we also have a special guest we're going to bring in here now. But right now, a situation where there is a kind of an inside Skelly look here with the linebackers and safeties working against in 7-on-7 coverage and also some 1-on-1. But 7-on-7 coverage where the safeties and linebackers are working in pass coverage, which is so key for this team. And you see Shamari Connor, we're going to talk about him later in the show. And Noah Gray with the catch there. He has had an outstanding camp. And also Drew Tranquil on coverage. That's a key part of this team. But now we are joined magically by the voice and face you will see and hear on Saturday night in Jacksonville as Ari Wolf joins us now, the play-by-play preseason voice for the Kansas City Chiefs on television. It's good to see you again, my friend.
Great to see you guys, man. You guys are studs. This is awesome.
Let me say this. No one was given a harder assignment than Friday. I find out I got COVID. I'm not going to be able to go to Green Bay. Ari is on the West Coast. He flies directly to Green Bay and does an amazing job in that game. Matt, there can't be a harder assignment in doing play-by-play than you're going to have to pass quantum physics, and you have 5 hours to study, and you haven't taken the class all year. You were awesome, man.
It was awesome. What an experience. It was an honor to step into your shoes for a night, and really it was a bucket list thing for me to get to call a National Football League game on the radio for a team in the regular season. Look, we all wanted a different outcome, but what a thrill to be there at Lambeau on a Sunday night game. Something I'll cherish forever.
It tells you, though, about the not only the style, but his work ethic and his spectacular ability that he's been given. What do you see in this team, though, as you've observed it from afar and now up close at camp?
Well, this is the best roster I've seen during the run. I think this team actually has the capability to be the best team of this entire run. And where I see it is there's depth at a lot of key positions. Last year, receiver was a concern. We had the drops. You had a lot of things going on. That's not going to be a problem this year. They really upgraded at the receiver position. And the thing that I think that makes this team unique, and I give all the credit here to Brett Veach and his staff, is the sustainability. Look, this team's built to win not just this year, but next year and the years to come. Normally in the NFL, we all talk about a window of opportunity. With this team, you feel like the window is for the foreseeable future. So you got the best quarterback, and he is, by the way, the #1 player in the NFL. Anybody who tells you Patrick's 4 has lost their mind. So I just think when you've got Andy Reid and you've got Spags and you've got Patrick Mahomes and you're able to sustain this model where you bring in guys late in the draft or undrafted free agents, or how about Drew Tranquil signing last year? I just think these guys are playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. It's an awesome organization from top to bottom, and so I really think this year's got a chance to be the best one yet.
So, Ari, the talent is obvious, as you laid out. But what stands out to you about the culture of this team and this organization? Because you come here for a little bit every year. Mitch and I are in it every day. It's like we live in New York City, and maybe we miss the Statue of Liberty sometimes. You come in for a few days, though. What stands out to you about the culture?
Well, the culture to me that's different here is that everybody lifts each other up. It feels like there's not a lot of egos involved. There's a lot of people that are like, well, how can I help Matt with his job today? How can I help Mitch with his job today? And I think that attitude permeates the entire organization. I like to refer to the spine of a franchise, right? It starts with your owner, and then Mark Donovan, the president, I think is the very best president in the league. Then you got Brett Veach, you got Andy Reid, and your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. And all these guys seem to want to make everybody else better. So it's just unique. I mean, I feel so much joy every summer when I come out here. I remember the first person I always reach out to every summer is Matt. We have our summit where we go through all 91 guys.
Yeah.
But I just think it's the culture. It's a winning culture. It's a positive culture. And look, this is back-to-back training camps. You're coming off winning a Super Bowl. So you'd expect there to be a lot of positive energy. But the teaching that goes on here, when you take a player and you look at them at the end of a season, at the end of 2 years, 3 years, the player development here I don't think gets enough credit. They take guys late in the draft and they turn these guys guys in legitimate starters in the National Football League. So it starts with character and culture, but I really think the teaching ability is what stands out the most to me.
And you have perspective outside in, as you alluded to. But what do you see in the fact that you had the toughest schedule? This team has had the toughest schedule really for 5 years in a row. And last year they had an unusually tough schedule in December.
Yes.
When teams had 9 and 14 days to get ready for them for 5 straight weeks. You draft last. You get last in waiver claims. And so to win consistently like this, how big is it and how much can the Chiefs Kingdom really take for granted what's going on here?
Well, fortunately for them, I think that they're going to be one of the elite franchises for many, many years to come. The next generation of Chiefs fans, look, like Patrick Mahomes, not even close to 30 yet, right? So he's 28 years old. If he wants to be Tom Brady, you're talking about 17 years he can still be playing, right? So I think that the best thing in the world for a franchise is when your very best player is your hardest worker. And the way Patrick goes about his business, the way he leads, he really is the definition of he turns the page, right? So you guys had all that success. He's like, this was great. Let's all celebrate. Now it's like we haven't done anything yet. That's the attitude he brings every day. Look, he's going to end up, when his career is over, in Michael Jordan territory. Like the GOAT of all GOATs. And look, just enjoy the ride, everybody. Because if you're Chiefs Kingdom, this ride's going to go on for a long time, and it's going to be a real joy to watch.
So, Ari, the football world is so small. People might not realize that. For those that don't know, can you tell everyone about your story a little bit and how it kind of intertwines with people like Matt Nagy and Coach Reed?
Well, so I got my first start. The very first football that I ever got paid to do was in the Arena Football League with the Albany Firebirds. And, you know, a lot of the people that I met there, including their head coach, Mike Daly, he's a great leader. He actually reminds me a lot of Andy Reid, always talking about integrity, character. He would always take the guy with a little less talent who he thought was a better person. So I think I learned very early on what were the key things for organizations to be successful. And I just feel so fortunate. So I spent a lot of time in Arena. Then I graduated to doing a lot of college football, which I get to do. And, you know, I've been in almost every facility of the National Football League. So when you go from place to place, you very quickly can tell whether this is going to work or not. And again, leadership is key. And being a great leader is being a leader in the toughest moments. And I just feel that this team and this organization is the measuring stick for everyone else in the league. And so I love that I started with very humble beginnings because I appreciate getting a chance to come here and representing the Chiefs. It's not a small deal to me. This is my 5th year with the best team in football. You guys treat me great. I mean, it's an amazing gig. Look, if they wanted to sign me to a lifetime contract, just show me where the pen is. I'm all in.
Well, you talked about the play-by-play in Green Bay. I also told them, hey, we have a 30-minute pregame show. Can you join that too? No problem. And during the show, my wife texted me, Ari's pretty good at this. Like, yeah, he's pretty good at this, knows what he's doing.
Not like quantum physics taking Calc 3 with 5 hours to study.
That my lesson to all of you ever want to be on TV talking about sports, don't be scared to do things to take you out of your comfort zone. Do anything and everything because you never know what opportunity might present itself. And then you want to be able to go in there, have confidence, and believe what you're going to share with everybody. So an opportunity like that I hadn't done, I mean, this he's awesome. He made it easy.
He is the best. Let's transition here a bit because last year the Chiefs won 11 regular season games, 4 in the postseason, 15 wins. 8 of those 15, Patrick Mahomes was under his career average in passing yards. He won games different ways, but that leads me to the defense. I'm going to ask you how big it was because I think we can overlook the fact that Chris Jones got re-signed. And then 2, what you see from this team defensively.
Well, I love this defense. Again, it goes back to my point about the ability to teach and improve players because those guys on the back end, particularly, take out McDuffie, he was a first-rounder, but the rest of those guys on the back end have become great defensive players because of how well they've been taught since they got to the National Football League. But Chris Jones really is the guy. So I really think that there are 3 guys that are going to be, you know, all in the Hall of Fame, and they'll get in on first one. You've got Patrick, you've got Travis, and Chris Jones, to me, he has been the defensive leader. It didn't feel right last year when he wasn't at camp. I think there was a lot of concern. But look, as soon as the game was over and we heard it on the franchise, Patrick went right up to Chris Jones and said, hey, you're staying with us. We're not done yet. And I think that tells you how important Chris is to this team. Plus, man, his ability. I mean, he is, with Aaron Donald out of the game, he's far and away now the best defensive tackle in football. And again, if your best player on a side of the ball is a really hard worker who's charismatic, who guys want to emulate, you're in real good position. But the defense, to me, I think Spags is so happy here because after last year, I would have thought if I had an opening at head coach, I'm like, I want that guy. Because he took a young team on the defensive side who didn't have a ton of first-round picks and has turned them into an elite defense. I think now that you marry the defense, the offense, they played great situational football. They were married to each other. I don't think they're going to need that as much this year. I think the offense is going to score more points. And remember, they were way down in turnover margin. That won't be the case again this year. So there's reason for me to be really optimistic. You talk about 15 total wins last year. To me, this year, because they're going to have a 1 seed, you're really looking at, can you win a total of 20 games? To me, I think that they can win 17.
I'm fired up already. We're in
Let's
August.
Go.
Already ready to go. So Chris Jones is the anchor of this defense, one of the main reasons this defense was so good last year. It was also great, though, because of players like Jack Cochran and Echo Boydo, everyone that makes an impact on this team. And those guys earned their spot on this team in the preseason. What do you love about preseason football?
Well, again, because it's a lot of underdogs, right? And I can relate to that. Guys who, weren't high draft picks, and so they get an opportunity to come out. I think, every year when we go over, we call it the summit, me and Matt, when we talk over, you look at the undrafted guys, or a guy who makes it at a rookie tryout, who makes it at, a mandatory minicamp. Seeing those guys get an opportunity, and right, you're seeing them all on the field, but right, Saturday night is the first real chance for them to show under the lights. So we all talk about opportunity, right? They're going to have that opportunity, and I think it's important. You and I talked about this recently. I like to treat every play in the preseason like it's a really big deal, because there is going to be a player who the peak of their career may come on Saturday. They might have a deflected pass. They might score a touchdown. That's the biggest moment in their career, and I think it's important that you emphasize the significance for that guy and his family. So I love the underdog stories, and I love celebrating those stories when we get to the preseason games.
And you alluded to the depth of this team. How big is it for, I tell fans, pay attention to every snap. Don't get bored. I think of a guy like Truman Jones.
Yeah.
Kid from Harvard who's had a great – these guys show up in November, December. Sometimes you get depleted injury-wise, and all of a sudden they show up, and they're like, well, that's the preseason guy. How big is it to pay attention to that? Because we have seen guys show up even at the second half of the season or in late in the playoffs, Echo Boydo is a great example of that. I mean, how big of that is to pay attention to this Saturday and the other 2 preseason games?
Well, look, if you love football, this is your opportunity to find those gems that maybe other people aren't talking about. You're going to see something in the preseason, and maybe that guy doesn't get active till week 11, till week 13. But this franchise has shown that they've got guys on the practice squad who are not just there to be developmental guys. They're guys who, when needed, can step up and play. But you set the foundation for that right here in training camp and then into the preseason. So there are going to be a couple guys we're probably not talking about right now that we're going to be talking about next week or the following week who are going to come up and make plays. And particularly when you bring in the new kickoff rule, we may see guys shine in a light that we've never seen, right? Because none of us have seen the new kickoff rule in action. We've just had the Hall of Fame game to watch. I thought everybody kept the kind of vanilla there. So I think over the course of this weekend, we're going to see some guys around the league, and hopefully here with the Chiefs, who are going to stand out with this new rule and earn themselves a spot on the 53-man roster.
Yeah, who wrote on NFL.com, they called it clunky. But we're all, I think, intrigued to see it. But I want to follow up with that because the wide receiver position, we're excited about Xavier Worthy, excited about Hollywood Brown. We know about Watson. He's back from injury, which is great, and Rashee Rice. But then it gets crowded. There's 5, maybe 6 guys. There's not room for all these guys. What are you watching for? And, Matt, I'll ask you, too, just your thoughts on what you want to see what needs to happen in separation to win those battles.
All right, to me, 27, Nico Remigio, he's a guy I've really got I'm going to be locked in on. I think his ability with the new kick rule in the return game, I think, will be key. He seems to have this thing figured out in the sense that he's got the right attitude. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. I think there's a high growth for him. Last year, everyone was really high on him. He gets a shoulder injury, and that ended the season for him. So he is a guy right there. We've got McCole Hardman. You know what he can do. He's a Super Bowl hero. He's got to fit in somewhere in the mix, right? And then you got Kadarius Toney. There's just a lot of guys at a position that last year was a big concern, and now you've got depth there, and you've got some tough decisions to make, but that's a good thing.
How about defensively? Any players that you've heard about or read about that you're looking forward to watching on Saturday?
Well, Jamal Hicks, the 4th-round pick, has gotten a lot of buzz at camp. He's a guy who I think can do multiple things. He'll probably be in the second safety role to start the season, but he can also play corner. I just like always to see those guys. It's one thing to watch him here at camp. Everything is kind of controlled. To see him out there trying to make plays against another team. But, again, it goes back to Brett Veach, what he's been able to do outside of round 1 and always picking in the late part of rounds. He's been able to find gems. You just look at the 2 4th-round picks this year, Wiley, right, and Hicks. I mean, those guys could be really valuable on the 53-man roster, not just like to be on the team, but actually have a significant impact.
Okay, I'm gonna throw you a batting practice pitch here because one thing the fans really aren't thinking about a lot is Matt Ariza is now the punter of this team, the San Diego State Thunderfoot. You covered him in college. What do you see here? And for Matt, what does he need to do to step into the shoes of a Dustin Colquitt and a Tommy Townsend?
Well, he's got a boomer of a leg. I mean, there's no doubt in the power of his leg. I think from what I've seen, consistency will be the key for him. And when he hits it good, I mean, he can hit it 70 yards with hang time. I think he's an amazing weapon. He's an example to me of another Andy Reid decision where he's like, look, I'm going to take a look at what happened with this kid off the field and be like, you know what, this kid deserves another chance. I covered him a lot. I think what I know of him, I really like. He got a pretty raw deal. He really didn't do anything wrong. So I just think it's amazing that he ended up in this organization that is a real believer in second chances. Again, he didn't need a second chance. He's a good kid. But he's going to come here. I think he can have an immediate impact. I like him a lot. I think another one of those quiet off-season moves that maybe doesn't register with Chiefs Kingdom, and I guarantee you Ariza will have an impact this season.
Are you glad that you picked one of the hottest days of the year to come here? Does it feel like real training camp?
Hey, man, if I'm going to sweat with you guys, let's bring it. Let's get it hot. No, look, this is a great time of year. I think everybody loves football, appreciates the fact that Andy wants to do it out here. And look, in a copycat league where flattery is the most sincere form of invitation, why aren't other teams doing this? Right? If you've won, if you won back-to-back Super Bowls, you look around, well, what do they do that's different? Go away to camp, get the bond, tune out the rest of the world, and just focus on building those relationships. Andy Reid did it in Philly. I went out to Lehigh when I was their preseason guy. I see the magic that happens when you get people away from all the distractions. So I just think that it's a brilliant decision. And people love coming out here now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think when Travis Kelce talks about this is his sanctuary, that tells you a lot about what these players, when they come here, they can just focus on football. They can just focus on their relationships with their teammates and their coaches. And look, the culture here is the best in the league, and I think coming to St. Joe's is a big part of it.
Well, you know what's amazing to me, too, is that a lot of teams, most teams don't have a lot of open practices.
Yeah.
Like, they make a big deal out of having 2 or 3. The Chiefs have 19 open practices, and I just grew up in Kansas City doing this. I thought everyone did. But around the league, it's not like this where fans can just come up on a, what's today, Monday or Tuesday. I lose track of the day of the week at training camp. But you can just come up on a random day of the week and see the Chiefs practice. It's such a cool thing. I think the players enjoy it as well. Have you
it brings
that?
A lot of energy. I think it does. When you're coming out, and people are screaming your name as you walk onto the practice field at training camp, I think it gives you some juice. You hear the crowd roar when a big play is made. I think it brings extra energy. And I also think for Chiefs Kingdom, it tells you a lot about the people that are running this organization, from Clark Hunt down, that realize the fans are a huge part of all this. So giving them the opportunity to be out here, I think it helps the coaches and the players, but it's just such a beautiful thing for the fans to get this up close and personal with the guys.
You mentioned Kels. We really haven't jumped into Kels.
Nope.
But I've got granddaughters that they're enamored with, of course, the whole Taylor Swift-Kelsey thing. You see this also from afar, but you alluded to it, and Matt and I brought it up. Instead of it being a distraction, this is his place to get away. There's no drones, no paparazzi. But for a guy to continue to play at the level he's played at now 12 years into his career, what are you seeing that in context of history?
Well, right. So I think his work ethic is what separates him, and he doesn't expect to be treated differently. I mean, the other day one of the guys talked about there's no vet days here. Nobody gets an off day. He's been in the league for 10 years. So I think it speaks volumes about what the expectations are from everyone. And I think Travis is really good at managing his body, right? I mean, he doesn't miss a lot of time. He plays a lot of snaps. And he also knows, look, all this attention and all the things that have come off the field, it comes because you're an absolute superstar on the field. And I think last year at times he was a little banged up. I loved how selfless he was, that he didn't care about getting to 1,000 yards at the end of the season. That, again, speaks to leadership. I think that Travis, look, we all know he's going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer, but he's not done yet. And I just love what he said. We plan to win 3, but you can't win 3 if you don't win 2 first. And so the table is set now to do something that's never been done, and I can't wait for Saturday night to kick this thing off.
We were diving into quarterbacks before we brought you in, so let's keep on that dive, because I want to ask you, you're going to see a lot of Carson Wentz on Saturday night. Matt and I are thrilled to have him here. I just feel like there's like 15 teams right now that would go, can we have him as a starting – this is a starting quarterback as a backup. What have you seen so far from Wentz and your background of knowing him?
Well, look, he looks the part, right? I mean, he stands out there and he makes throws. You're like, that doesn't look like a backup quarterback. He's tall. He's strong. I mean, he's got a cannon for an arm. This is a very unique year for him, right? I think nobody wants to actually see him play in the regular season, but I think this could be a bridge to him becoming a starter somewhere else. A year of being in a system with Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and being with Patrick Mahomes, I think will really help Carson Wentz. But the great news is he can help today. I mean, he's a guy who can clearly play. He's had some adversity in his career. I think he's at a place now where he said, you know what, I'm probably, if I wanted to be a starter, I'm going to have to go to a pretty bad team. Whereas now he can go to the best team in the league and learn from the best, and I still think he's got a bright future, and I think his attitude about being here is tremendous. I think one of the knocks on him has been leadership. Well, he's going to learn how to lead from the best leader in the National Football League. So to me, this is a win-win. This is going to be great for Carson this year and moving forward, and it's great for the team because they've got a second starting quarterback. Look, the backups have done what's been asked of them. They've been able to come in and win games. Carson can come in, and that offense can look pretty similar. It won't be Mahomes' magic, but Wentz at his very best is an elite quarterback.
We've got Ian Book in this camp as well. Did you call any Notre Dame Ian Book games?
I didn't, but I loved that. You talk about a tough kid. He was willing to stand in there and take hits. Like I went to USC, so I have mixed feelings. But I'll tell you this: it's easy to admire watching the guy play. Right? I mean, the volume of games that he started as a college quarterback, and look, he's one of those guys who this is a huge preseason for him. Like, what does his future look like? He's going to have a chance to write the next chapter if he can come in and play well. Look. He's not going to play for the Chiefs this year. That's no scenario. But to me, it's about how can you get better. And I think in this system, I think everybody has an opportunity to improve themselves. And, opportunity, he's going to have a chance for the next 3 weeks to make some plays and perhaps get a chance with another team.
Chris Oladokun as well has to make up for that screen pass he threw. That was the intercepted that led to the loss last year in the first preseason game. But he is awesome. If you're going to get ready for Lamar Jackson, if you're going to get ready for Jalen Hurts, you've got Chris Oladokun, who's perfect for that role.
Right. So that's a little detail, right, that the scout team quarterback embraces that role and actually gives the defense the kind of looks they need. That's not an insignificant thing. All the details matter, right? It's the most competitive league in any sport, I think, in the world. Yeah. So if details really matter, those kind of things. I mean, you look at the end of the Super Bowl, San Francisco wins the toss, makes the wrong decision. Those are details, right? And I think when you've got an organization – with Andy Reid at the top of it, details are everything. They're never going to miss a detail, and that's why they're going for the 3-peat.
He is Ari Wolf, one of the better dudes on the planet. You will hear him and see him along with Matt, who will be on the sideline for the television broadcast in Jacksonville on Saturday night. And, of course, you can also follow it on the largest radio network in the National Football League with the Chiefs Radio Network. Thanks, you guys, so much. Reminder, everything we're doing here at camp is brought to you by Mosaic. They're phenomenal. They've already helped fans. They help our players while we're here, and they're now part of the Mayo Clinic Care Network. Their people, their technology, their services, they're trying to keep local care local, and they help us at camp like no other. So thanks to the folks at Mosaic. Thanks to Ari. Thanks to Matt. Keep in mind, we've got a Defending the Kingdom podcast that's coming up that'll be posted very soon. But get ready now because Jacksonville is coming up on Saturday night.